Class Live. We're talking about what you're talking about.
You all ready for this?
This is a sham.
No.
Nope.
Y'all, just stop.
Get real.
I love starting the day with Lindsay's laughter.
Yes.
Don't you? And Erica putting on her earring. We are all doing well,
Erica's
guys.
like, she just got dressed in the
yeah,
car.
I'm just,
like
you
you had to
know.
go to the school because your kid was acting up. You're like, let me just.
casually putting on my earring. Yes,
Everyone
hi.
looks fabulous, and let's all get a nice big breath. Inhale and exhale. Welcome to DBL. So today we're actually taking, oh, hi there. Hi, looking good. Today we're taking a look at what's changed since the pandemic, and if people have become somewhat more fragile, or as they say in Christmas Story, fragile.
Yes,
Do you remember that?
fragile.
Since re-entering daily life. So one example we want to give you is an NYU professor who was fired recently because some of his students complained that his class was, quote, too hard. So the organic chemistry professor has taught the course for decades, but last spring, 82 of his 350 students signed a petition blaming his teaching style for their poor test scores. Now, in his defense, the professor blamed the students for their loss of focus, which he said got worse after they returned to the classroom. Now, after learning virtually during the pandemic, he said they got a bit soft. This guy also wrote the book on organic chemistry. You've taken organic chemistry,
Yes.
sir. It seems like it might be a hard course.
It's the hardest thing you'll ever take. It's organic chemistry, just really quickly, and not to bore everybody, but it basically asks you to picture a molecule in 3D and be able to rotate it in your mind and understand the degrees in which they bond, covalent bonds, all that kind of boring stuff. It's very difficult.
Wow.
But here's some good news. I know for a fact that people have been able to get past this because all my friends that took it are all doctors now.
Yay, doctors!
Yes, they're all doctors. I know like 40 of them. They're all doctors. And this is a sign of, I think, things to come, because Erica, it kind of goes to what I'm saying with when I always say that the idea of the customer is always right has ruined this country and has helped produce some of these Karens videos that we see. No one ever tells you no. So what happens is you're like, yeah, I can just do and say whatever I want. But organic chemistry has to be understood in order for you to continue on with your education. But if no one has ever told you, hey, you need to either finish this, drop the class, or fail, those are your three options. If no one ever presents life like that to you, how are you going to proceed with anything? Because the next thing you do, if it gets hard, you're going to get that person fired. I mean, unless we just want to stop taking the hard classes away from doctors and just whichever ones they want to take.
Yeah, that's interesting. So organic chemistry is obviously a prerequisite to going to med school. So that does really beg the question, what's the next move? Because not even half of his students were on the petition.
Correct.
It's 82 out of, what, 200 and something?
It was 82 out of 350.
Yeah, so that's also might be indicative of the amount of people who will never make it past med school as well. If you're going to change your course, which a lot of people have done since the pandemic, because people have decided that they want to live in a different way. But here's the issue for anything, whether it's school, which I'm like, isn't he a tenured professor? But let's not get into X's and O's. For school or anything else, it's this idea that as opposed to people excelling in ascension, there is a segment that wants to cut the criteria down at the knees so they don't have to perform as hard. And I understand that a lot of people feel differently. Trust me, I feel differently, since lockdown. But I'm also used to having my schedule very much stacked and having 4 different jobs at all times.
Right.
That's something that I'm starting to be like, I think I learned one thing, and that's that time is very valuable and taking care of myself is very valuable. So I've prioritized that. So I know that people have had different priorities. Just don't make your priorities everyone else's.
Yes, they've now damaged 270 other students that are now going to have a new professor in the hardest course that they are going to probably take in undergrad. Absolutely the hardest.
I agree. And can I just ask you both, do you think this is due to the pandemic, or is this due to a generational thing, or both?
I mean, speaking for myself, I have found myself thinking differently about the ways that I want to live my life in terms of the balance or lack
After the
thereof.
pandemic, you're
yes,
saying. Yeah,
absolutely.
I do too.
I don't know. I think that every generation has people that are going to put their head down and work, and people that don't want to do that. And the people that don't want to do that are going to find reasons why. I'm sure 20 years ago it was because of they were worried, 30 years they were worried about being drafted, and now it's this and COVID. There's always going to be people that don't want to work, and there are always going to be people that will be in the library. I don't want to, let me stretch my legs. When I used to go to the medical library, what I would do is I would pick a student and I would say, I'm not going to move until they do. And I would sit there and I would study for hours and hours and hours. And so if I had to go to the bathroom, I wouldn't move, and they wouldn't move. They didn't know I was playing this weird game. But when you have to set your mind there, and stop spending your time on petitions. And it's really a tragedy, and it's embarrassing.
That's what I would do when I went to the gym.
Yeah.
I wouldn't move.
No, I would just keep going until the person next. I'm like, okay, well, apparently that's what it takes. So that's what I'm gonna do too.
That's called excelling. That's why you guys are here. Now, speaking of the pandemic, it looks like Google searches for how to call in sick have spiked. Is this any of you? Over the past 4 years, searches for things like, quote, best excuses for calling in sick and, quote, good excuses to miss work have increased 630%. The largest jump was from 2021 to 2022 as people started returning to the workplace 5 days a week. It's funny to me how many people get food poisoning in this world and how many clams we're eating that are bad. I mean, how many times have you eaten a clam? Has anyone here eaten a clam?
Yes.
But have you said you have?
No.
We got some liars in this room. What do you guys think about calling in sick? And sick to me means something different post-pandemic. Does that mean something different to you? I take more care to stay at home than I would have pushed through, toil through. Tour, you got to be there no matter what, sniffling, whatever. I don't think I should be there. What do you guys think?
Well, being sick for real is different. When somebody says, and definitely people are using that leverage, Erica, because COVID. When somebody says they're sick, you can't test that. But you and I mean, you come from Roosevelt and Dr. Cobb. I come from my mom and my dad. I remember watching my mom dealing with a sister that was bipolar, getting her PhD on a typewriter, and she got that done. So I don't want to hear any excuses. I just don't, and that's why I work how I do, and that's why you have 4 jobs.
Yeah.
Have you ever called in sick, Fake?
Not, honestly, I haven't called in sick since probably 2015, 2016, like in terms of like actually like calling in and not really being sick. I've never called in sick on this show unless I was actually sick. And I think a big part of that is, well, one, I think I'm one of those people too where if I'm not sick, I drive myself more crazy by all the things that I need to do outside of work.
Like all the guilt and all this.
Right. I probably will end up having a harder day than just coming into work.
You're like,
to be quite honest.
You know why I don't call in sick?
What?
Camera hog. Coming up on DBL. No joke.
Cameras not at the house.
Cameras are not over the house. I don't have makeup at the house. Our interview with 90s sitcom icon Fran Drescher. She's telling us about the book N is for the Nanny. And we've been talking about the rumors for a while. But there are real signs that point to a divorce for Tom Brady and Giselle. And we're going to talk about it coming up next. Stay tuned.
Closed captioning provided by...
I'm easily tickled, y'all. It doesn't take much.
We're going to sit here and be right.
I know y'all going to be mad at me, but I'm just telling you the truth.
You can smirk all you want. You don't have to tell me to go.
Brad Pitt on the penalty.
Yeah, I was going to say, Erica, the only food that I will accept, and it's a food I don't eat, but when somebody says they got sick from it, is potato salad. I know a lot of people, yes, and Bobby says he loves potato salad. I get it, but a lot of times it's outside at a picnic, and if it sits too long, somebody's not really conscious, like maybe it sat on the counter before they went, it can turn really quickly. And my sons and my ex-wife got Shigella from potato salad, which is like so bad that like you have to call the CDC because it's that contagious. Like it's really bad. Yeah, Shigella's real bad. But it's any kind of thing with mayonnaise, you should be careful with tartar sauce. I got sick from a fish sandwich one time with tartar sauce, but food poisoning. When you're really sick, and Eric, I want to get your thoughts on when you're really sick. Don't you think like you don't even have to explain it? Like the more you explain, the more it seems fishy.
Yeah, but I am an over-explainer just in general. So there's that.
Yeah.
You're a long story short type of girl.
They always say, what is it? The more details you add, the more, because I watch a lot of police interrogation, the more details you add, the more likely is that you're lying.
What about just taking it personally?
I think you can take a personal day.
Okay, got it. You're on here and on here. Sorry.
Yeah, it's very weird.
I'm very sorry.
Yes. I mean, what do you think about personal days? I just don't know what I would do.
My mom does. My mom, I know. Let's all agree. I came from a more liberal background. I'm from DC, but still a very highly academic one. And they gave me mental health days when I needed them, and I did.
When I said she left the compound and everybody made fun of me?
Yeah, she left. Welcome back. Is Tom Brady's marriage over?
Yes.
Wow.
If you have to ask that question, it is.
Wow, that's a really good point, Al. Multiple tabloids are saying yes. Now, the updated reports, again, just tabloids, say that Tom and Giselle each have retained divorce attorneys. Apparently, the two have been living separately for months following this epic fight where she left that compound. Again, just reports, nothing has been confirmed yet. I definitely see the writing on the wall on this one. I don't want to talk badly about it. I hope they do well. But if you're retaining divorce attorneys with the amount of money that you have, you are starting the battle. Unfortunately, I come from people where I know a lot of divorce attorneys. I grew up with dads and moms that were, and the second you've got them, you've picked your teams.
Right. I mean, I think we talk about celebrities, but just talking about real people.
Yeah.
Tori, you and I have had hundreds of conversations. Have we ever asked, is Erica's marriage over?
No.
No. Because it's not an issue. The fact that we were talking about this weeks ago, the fact that she wasn't at the game, the fact that he retired and then unretired, it just tells you that Tom Brady has been cheating on her with football, and she's done with it. They made an agreement, and she broke it. He broke it, and she's done.
I don't know. I think that it's so difficult to really find someone, and people talk about this a lot. I listen to a lot of podcasts about when you're a star to the magnitude that they both are, it's very difficult to retain a relationship with someone who has that equal shine.
Sure.
You know,
You do it.
That's not the same.
It's the
no,
same.
it's not. It's not the same.
Relatively.
No, I mean, Tom Brady and none of us are Tom Brady and Giselle.
What?
None of us. Sorry. I think, but also I believe that's the reason why this show works the way that it does, is because we're more like the
none of
people
us
at
are
home.
famous.
Yeah.
Well, no, we're more like the people at home than we are the people that we're talking about.
Very
you know, there's something to that. I just think it's so difficult to find someone that you are willing to say, yes, I want to give it a go of spending the rest of my life with you. I also think that people have different versions of what that looks like.
Yeah,
so
right.
I'm not necessarily like, oh my gosh, everything's up in smoke. Also, it's not my business.
I know.
I mean, there's no scandal here.
I know.
Like, if they chose to divorce, then I mean, that's sad.
Yeah.
But it's it's not something that's bringing everybody else in.
Yeah.
There wasn't like Tom wasn't like, hey, I'm gonna name my unborn child.
Yeah, I was like, it's not an Adam Levine.
But I think it is a more realistic situation for most couples that you make an agreement like, hey, Tori, you're not going to do your night job anymore. Hey, Erica, you're not going to be traveling as much because I want to spend more time with you. If your partner said that and you said, okay, and then a year later, your schedule was just as busy as it was after you made that agreement, I think a lot of people can say, we talked about this.
Yeah, we talked about it, but with that singular issue, be enough to cause a divorce.
Well,
because
right.
the truth is, for me, it absolutely would not be. My husband and I are very dedicated to our careers equally. We spend a lot of time working, and that understanding means sacrifice. Would we like to change some of those things? Of course, but if it came down to it, that wouldn't be the singular issue.
Yes, but what I think about in response to you, Al, is Giselle was the Tom Brady of modeling, and she gave that up. I don't know whether it was her choice or not, but he didn't give up his football. And I think there is an imbalance
and they
there.
agreed that he would.
Exactly.
And he's old enough
again,
and he's done all the things.
But again, the sacrifice doesn't feel equal to me. We'll see. Go blue. Go Brady. Coming up on DBL, Fran Drescher tells us all about reliving her 90s sitcom character for the book N is for the Nanny.
This year, sales of electric vehicles have soared. So for many of you, this could be your first winter driving a battery-powered car. And if you've ever tried to use your phone when it's cold out, you know batteries and freezing temperatures don't mix. One of our viewers, Martha, asked, do electric vehicles lose range, meaning the distance they can travel on a single battery charge in cold weather? So Martha, let's verify. Our sources are Consumer Reports, AAA, and 2 academic researchers who specialize in electric vehicles. Earlier this year, Consumer Reports released a study where they ran numerous EVs in different seasons, controlling for all variables but temperature. The study found that at 16 degrees Fahrenheit, the cars on average could only go about 3/4 of the distance they could travel at 65 degrees. A similar study by AAA a few years ago showed similar results. The cars back then actually performed even worse in cold weather. So we can verify, yes, in cold weather. So why is that? The biggest reason is simply the need to keep the driver comfortable. Gas-powered cars generate heat by burning fuel, and that heat can just be pumped into the cabin. But EVs need to generate heat independently, meaning the battery now has 2 jobs in cold weather, propelling the car and heating the cabin.
Electric cars are way more efficient. Most of the energy is being used to move the car, and there's not so much excess heat that is being created. A little bit, but not much. So when we need to heat the cabin where we sit, we actually need to use more energy, and that lower the range of the car.
The good news, the loss of range shouldn't affect most drivers. On longer trips, you will need to recharge more often in cold weather, but for a daily commute, it shouldn't make much of a difference. With your Verify, I'm Casey Decker.
Welcome back to DBL. Fran Fine and her impeccable style was a 90s icon, and the woman behind the nanny is still just as iconic today. Earlier, we chatted with Fran Drescher and brought back memories of the nanny with a new book about the hit show. It's awesome. Great interview. Check it out. I'm so excited to speak with her. And we're talking about a new book about the hit show. Welcome, Fran. It is so good to see you.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
It's great to be here, and thank you for helping me promote this fabulous book.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Let's get to it. So the new book, N is for the Nanny, gives us all the feels and all the nostalgia. What's the best Fran Fine memory that this book brought back for you specifically?
Oh, I think that all the characters are represented in here, and I love the fact that they use so much leopard throughout the book. It's so sweet. And, so it's a beautiful book. It's great for the whole family. It's a great stocking stuffer for any, nanny fan, and most important, it's in support of Cancer Schmancer. If you go to cancerschmancer.org, you can also buy an autograph copy of it, because I'm personally autographing some as a special fundraising effort for Cancer Schmancer. And we love our fans, and I really feel very strongly about what Cancer Schmancer does and how it helps so many people.
So I hear that 60s supermodel Twiggy helped inspire the idea for the nanny after you took her daughter to London, which is a crazy story in itself. But what was the aha moment there where you're like, I think there's a show here?
Well, the kids started saying to me how new shoes were hurting her. And I was thinking to myself, oh my God, we just got into the city. Now you want to go back? So I said, honey, just step on the backs of them. And she said very innocently, won't that break them? And I said, break them in. And I thought, oh my God, this is a very funny relationship, because I'm not really being a traditional caregiver and doing what's good for the kid. I'm telling her what's good for me. And I couldn't get it out of my head. I called my then husband and still writing partner and producing partner, Peter Mark Jacobson. And I said, I think I have an idea for a series. What do you think about a spin on The Sound of Music? Only instead of Julie Andrews, I come to the door. And he has a very good sense for these things. And he said right away, that's it, let's develop it and we'll pitch it to CBS. And that was really the beginning of it all.
Wow. I love that story, because I did not miss an episode.
Yep.
So let's talk about the forward.
Thank you.
Yes, of course. Because in the forward of N is for the Nanny, you said all of Fran Fine is in you, but not all of you is in her. So what do you mean by that?
Well, I think that, first of all, I don't think Fran Fine could have ever, created and produced her own television series.
Girl.
I happen to be very ambitious, and I'm totally self-made. I've never been someone that, was looking to get married to somehow complete my story. Even though I've been married twice. I'm an activist. I'm an environmentalist. I'm very political. I go to the mat for any group that's being marginalized. I fight for civil liberties. I'm really for, diversity and inclusion. I help get a bill passed in Washington. I became a public diplomacy envoy for the State Department. Now I'm the SAG-AFTRA national president, which is the largest entertainment union in the world. I got cancer, I survived, and I created my own nonprofit, Cancer Schmancer. So all of these things I don't really think are within Fran Fine's grasp, though I do think that she had a tremendous amount of street smarts, Queen's logic, as we called it. I think she had a great heart. And the global message of that show was, it doesn't matter what you look like or sound like, it's what's in your heart that counts.
Grab a copy of the book, N is for the Nanny, O is Oi, just so you guys know. It's my favorite book. At thenannybook.com or on Amazon. And Fran had the chutzpah you have, which I love. 100% of the proceeds goes to the Cancer Schmancer movement. Thank you so much for being an activist and for being you. We'll be right back. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Promotional consideration is brought to you by
A memo from the University of Idaho to its staff is the subject of a lot of talk on social media. People claim that the memo warns staff that they can be fired and charged with a crime for promoting abortion or contraception. But is that true? Let's verify. Our sources are the University of Idaho's memo, the Idaho No Public Funds for Abortion Act, and Jody Walker, Director of Communications for the University of Idaho. Here's the memo that people are talking about. And yes, the University of Idaho confirmed it's real. Dated September 23rd and sent to the staff by the University of Idaho's legal counsel, the memo tells staff what they cannot do under the state law while they're working at the university. It says staff cannot use university funds or facilities to promote abortion or counsel in favor of abortion. Staff are also banned from dispensing Plan B, an FDA-approved emergency contraceptive. According to the memo, staff who violate these laws could lose their job, be banned from working for the state, and face misdemeanor or felony convictions. The memo points to Idaho's No Public Funds for Abortion Act as the reason why. So let's look at that. The 2021 law says any person, agency, or organization that receives state funding cannot use those funds to perform or promote abortion. Anyone who violates the law could be charged with a misdemeanor, which is punishable by a fine of up to $1,000 or up to 1 year in county jail, or both. Since University of Idaho staff are paid with public funds, this law applies to them. Jody Walker, Director of Communications for the university, told Verify that abortion can be discussed as a policy issue in the classroom, but says the university highly recommends employees in charge of the classroom remain neutral or risk violating this law. So we can verify that yes, The University of Idaho warned staff that they could be fired and charged with a crime for promoting abortion or contraception. With your Verify, I'm Ariande Till.
I'm Ted Budd, and I approve this message.
A line you will hear more and more with the November election right around the corner. A viewer asked, where does that come from, and do politicians always have to say it? For answers, we went to Catawba College political professor Michael Bitzer, the Stand By Your Ad provision of the Bipartisan Campaign Reform Act, and the Federal Election Commission, also known as the FEC. In 2002, the Bipartisan Campaign Finance Reform Act was passed. In it, a provision that requires candidates running for federal office to claim their ads.
It is federal law that all candidates have to acknowledge that if they are paying for this particular ad, they have to claim credit and responsibility for it.
The FEC is very specific about how the message should appear. The written statement must come at the end of the ad, appear for at least 4 seconds, and must be clearly readable. So why is this provision in place?
The belief was that perhaps if candidates have to take ownership of the ad's message, that perhaps it might tone down the kind of negativism that we have seen in attack ads. Unfortunately, that hasn't been the case.
Though negative ads are still abundant on TV and social media, candidates have to take ownership if they're the ones paying for it. With your Verify Fact Check, I'm Megan Bragg.
Welcome back. It is estimated there are nearly 11,000 tire-related car accidents every year. That's today's Auto Alert, sponsored by Ox Car Care. Yeah. A lot of car accidents can actually be prevented with just basic tire maintenance. So first, check your tire pressure once a month. If your car has automatic tire pressure sensors, make sure you do that. Next, check your tire tread wear by placing a penny in a groove with Lincoln's head facing down. If its head is completely visible, you likely need new tires. Lastly, you should rotate your tires every 3,000 to 5,000 miles or every 6 months. Ox Car Care is dedicated to providing you with amazing auto protection plan experience that works with your budget. If you're looking for better car care, give them a call at 1-800-690-7547. Now, before we go, we do have some sad news. The country music world has lost a queen. Loretta Lynn passed away at the age of 90. Her family said she died peacefully in her sleep at her home in Tennessee. Loretta was born in Kentucky as one of 8 children. Her 1970 hit song Coal Miner's Daughter was a tribute to her dad, who was in fact a coal miner, who passed away from working again in the mines. She performed the song on the Ed Sullivan Show in 1971 with her signature hairstyle, and a year later, she became the first woman ever to be named Entertainer of the Year by the Country Music Association. Sissy Spacek famously portrayed Loretta in the 1980 movie Coal Miner's Daughter and won an Oscar for the role. And I know we were talking earlier about fragility. Loretta Lynn had none of that.
No.
She was a hard scrabble working class singer.
Old school.
Yeah.
I just there was one of the first female boxers, Christy Martin. That was her name. It was Christy, the coal miner's daughter.
Is that right?
And it just shows you, like, I'm a tough girl from the country. You about to get it.
That's exactly
I like it. Yeah, shout out to her.
Rest in peace, Miss Lynn. DBL is new every day. We will see you same time, same place tomorrow. Be good to yourselves.